Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of What's Up, Spirit. Today is episode 12. I am Reverend Lesia Kohut from the Victoria Truth Center, and I am here with my co-lead, brand steward, and love ambassador extraordinaire, Sheri Hauser. And we are so delighted that you are here with us today, whether you are with us here live, which is not actually happening yet, or you're watching the recording, but that is coming. So we're just grateful for your time, your presence, however it is that you're engaging with us. So before we dive in, just take a moment to remember where we are. And with me coming from Brentwood Bay on Vancouver Island, Canada, then I am here very close to the Tsartlip Nation, the unceded and traditional lands of the Wasanich people, the Senchothan speaking people. And it is just such an honor and such a privilege to be here on these beautiful lands that have been stewarded and nurtured and cared for and revered and celebrated for so long. So we are very, very grateful and feeling very blessed to be able to be here now to live and breathe and work and play. And Sheri, I know that you're coming from somewhere else. So would you like to let people know where you're coming from?
Yeah, I live in Victoria, BC, on the lands of the Lekwungen speaking people, known as the Esquimalt and Songhees Nation, and it is on their land, that their stolen land, that I live and work, and play. And like you, Lasia, just leaning into the gratitude that I feel for their centuries of stewardship of this beautiful island, the land, the waters. Um, it's a gorgeous place to be. And the more I deepen into my gratitude practice, the more I feel reverence and appreciation for where we get to be.
Mhm. So just breathing that in and letting that open us up to this incredible opportunity to be together here now. I'm going to ask you, Sheri, what's up, spirit?
That's what we're here to do, right? We're here
Yep.
to share with each other what's going on in our physical bodies in on at this time on earth. And yeah, what's up for me right now in this moment, as we did a meditation before we started recording, what I was feeling into was, I think, something that I brought up in episode 11 around how I perceive the present moment, the reality that is happening right now, that I view it through a filter of my thoughts, my beliefs, and my memories.
Mm-hmm.
And that filter skews how I respond to what's happening in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm currently on a journey with another spiritual teacher. And what I'm wanting to clear are some of my old stories. And because when they stay active, I can respond to a situation from a wounded place,
Mm.
not from what's actually happening, but from
Yep.
my story. And I met with this advisor yesterday, and I was really surprised by the homework that I received. And the homework is to go to the ocean and have a grief ceremony,
Wow.
specifically around um, the years that I spent in a relationship that where I wasn't looking out for me,
Mm-hmm.
where I might have betrayed myself a little bit and not listening to what was best for Sheri. And she said, in order to heal the wounds, you need to grieve for the time that you spent in something that maybe wasn't serving your highest and greatest good. Now, having said that, everything that's happened to me is happening for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to be the person I am today because of the choices that I've made in the past. And that is a beautiful
Mhm.
thing. And so I have
Mhm.
gratitude for the experience, and there was lessons learned. But this idea of having a grief ceremony for myself wasn't something I'd ever considered before. And I'm in a state of sort of awe and wonder around this suggestion. So if there
Mhm.
is something that's like up for me right now this week, it's receiving this invitation yesterday to to spend some time with myself at the edge of an ocean and process
Mhm.
and vocalize.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. Have you ever heard of it? Have you had experience with a grief ceremony before?
I don't know if it would be called a grief ceremony, but it reminds me of what I went through yesterday. I'm part of the 9D breathwork community, and yesterday there was a brand new journey that was released, and it's called the Origin Journey, and it's quite different from any of the other ones that Brian has put together. And so at 5 in the morning, I woke up and I tuned in because I think he's in Bulgaria right now, and with maybe about 40 other people, and he showed us the TED talk that he did a couple of days before, and then he led us through this journey. And there's always a scream in the middle of the journey where you've been breathing and you've been going in and out of euphoric breathing or intentional what's the word, hyperventilation, to get you into a non-ordinary state of consciousness. And then you get to this point where you take in a huge inhale, you hold it, and then on his cue, you just scream, letting everything out. And yesterday was just as cathartic as any other time I've done it. But what happened was there was the scream, which normally, like for me, like I just let her rip. But this time, the bulk of the scream wasn't where the release was. It was in the extended, and I just couldn't believe how much breath and sound there was in me, in my body that had been trapped, that was just like ready to be released. And then at the end of it, I just burst into tears, just sobbed, and it was almost as if it was happening to someone else, and I couldn't believe. I'm like, kind of get over what's going on, get over yourself, whatever, but also just allowing for it to happen. And it just was coming in these waves, and then it just stopped. And then what we learned yesterday was that different types of movement or different types of behavior or releases during a breathwork journey like that correlate with certain emotions. And so because of the way that I was moving and thrashing, and the sobbing in particular yesterday, was the release of a lot of guilt and shame, which I get it, can relate to, makes total sense. But it was just so cathartic. And so back to your, grief ceremony, no one has labeled it as such, but I feel like anytime there is opportunity to really be present, with what is happening, acknowledge it, and then release it in some way so that we can clear ourselves, we can let go, we can open ourselves up to the unknown that we haven't yet experienced. Then that's got to be, some kind of, that ceremony to me in some way.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
you haven't
beautiful.
done yours yet, right?
No, no,
Okay.
I'll need to plan a trip. Um, and I was advised to take a witness
Mm,
um, to care for me in the aftermath.
mm,
Um, I noticed that I have a bit of intrepidation around like, am I going to do it right?
yeah.
You know, um, and I think when I've heard about grief practices before, I've made an assumption that they're for people who are struggling with the loss of a loved one. And so the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because processing grief when you've lost a loved one is something that I imagine every living human can relate to,
Hmm.
even though the way it feels for you and the texture of the relationship with the one who has departed is so unique that I'm not going to pretend to know what your grief feels like. just
Yeah.
because I too have lost somebody. So that's very specific to the individual.
Yeah.
But this idea of grieving for a part of myself that almost like went numb in a relationship,
Yeah.
and that I didn't get to be fully me, fully vibrant, fully alive, fully awake, fully using my voice in service of my needs,
Yeah.
that is actually what I'm grieving.
Yeah.
And that's what was so novel. And so having received
Mhm.
these instructions, this guide to encourage me along this path, I'm sort of like, wow, I feel like I need to talk about this, and um just for it to land and be real. And wow, what else have I not processed is a, a little bit about what,
Right.
what I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's big. What an incredible opportunity. And what, as trepidatious and as scary or unnerving, as it might be, what a gift. What a gift to offer yourself, and what a blessing to be able to move through that kind of experience, because you can only come out, liberated, up leveled, opened up in some way, on the other side,
Yeah.
knowing that even at the time that things were happening the way they were happening, allowing yourself to realize you were doing your best. You were doing your best with what you had, with what you knew, with who you were at the time, and that there's no guilt or shame or remorse or judgment or anything like that involved. But to maybe go through this process, that's an opportunity to realize that none of
Mm-hmm.
that has to be, and none of it is relevant to what happened then or who you always are, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some forgiveness, like for myself. I obviously wasn't ready to set my sword down and leave.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ready until I was.
Yeah.
And so I get that part. Um, but it never occurred to me that I had work to do around this uh, acknowledgement of past self.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, very interesting. And I'm just noting that I'm going to want to pin episode 12 to mention into the future when you, Lesia, are going to be offering some 9D breathwork inside of the sanctuary at Victoria Truth Center. We are just increasing our offerings. It
Yeah.
feels like, every week we're having new ideas, and every month since we started last October, taking over the leadership at the Truth Center with
Yeah.
programming, that we are unveiling something new. And so, having just had our second Elevate Your Creativity last night with Caitlin McManus, an art therapist, doing these mandala creations. Um, and we're going to be rolling out music and mantras on fourth Mondays starting in April with Corleen Ashante.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and soon you'll be offering your 9D breathworks inside the space. So I just want to tell for anybody out there watching this episode that stay tuned to victoriatruthcenter.org, where we'll be publishing all of our upcoming events. That's the place to go. We'll put a link in the show notes, like I imagine we do every time, for you to
Mm-hmm.
quickly access our website. And you'll see what's coming up, and get that 9D breathwork on your calendar, because
Yeah.
I don't want to miss it.
Yeah. And if you're on Facebook, then feel free to join us in the Facebook group, Victoria Truth Center. The community is building, and there's a nice little online presence for our community. So we would love to see you and engage with you there as well.
Great. Until next time.
Until next time, this has been What's Up, Spirit. I'm Reverend Lesia. I've been here with Sheri, and we are so delighted that you were here with us. We will see you again in a week's time. Bye for now.
Bye.